Hi there, gallery members and new viewers alike. Thanks for tuning in for this latest edition of Gridiron Gallery. If you haven't seen my channel before up until this point with new videos, recommend you like this one and subscribe for more. We got plenty of content on all your favorite football leagues. And for those gallery members out there, thank you as always for tuning in. Really can't appreciate you enough. Now, on to the show. Welcoming everybody to the Zach, Tony, and Grimbo Show, the bi-weekly NFL program, part of the Gridiron Gallery podcast with two of my best buddies that are quite into the football scene. All three of us at different teams, but we all love the game of football that is represented in the National Football League. Zach Keilman hosting as always, Tony Stenulson, Michael Grimberg in with me as well for every one of these shows. Gentlemen, week after Thanksgiving or the holiday weekend to start off kind of Christmas season in my book, because just a quick heads up, I say Christmas starts after the Turkey Day. So that is how I look at it. So the holiday weekend's pretty nice. How'd you gentlemen enjoy the said festivities? Sans game results. Although you're welcome, Tony, to share about those tragedies. I feel free. We were teasing before the beginning of this, so at your leisure, as you're already suffering without any verbal notification on it.
Yeah, it's the festivities were fantastic. Having two Thanksgivings for the first time in like 5 years was really stressful at first, mainly because I'm not used to it. So we went up to Maggie's parents' house before for the first one, and then we ended up at my family's Thanksgiving, where we did a Christmas ale taste test. So we started Christmas season before the turkey was, even cold. So, we'll leave the games out of it. The good part was that my cousin-in-law, his name's Rhule, he is also a Cowboys fan. So I was actually able to commiserate with somebody. So made it a little bit easier.
Oh, Tony.
Oh, I love it.
Thursday's affairs in Arlington were definitely a game. I actually called that on Colorcast, by the way, which I got to witness the entire thing in its own shambling way, if you will, between the bad calls, between consistent back and forth deep shots, between Michael Gallup somehow being cold, and all of a sudden the fourth quarter he decides now's the time for me to play like I'm the number one option on this team right now. Everything. Called it all.
Yeah, I kind of repressed some of the memories from sports this past weekend, so I apologize if nothing comes as fresh as it does to everybody else.
Yeah, you know what? We aren't gonna bring up the other one in the room because that's even worse. And if you want to go and see his frustration, just go look at his Twitter at Tony Stenulson. Just go back to last weekend, like I think November 27th, you'll see every tweet of his venting on a said game. That's all I'm going to leave it at. I'll give it.
I don't tweet a lot recently, so you'll be able to find it pretty quick.
I'll give it the same respect as my rule with Michael on here, which again, I won't bring that up, but if you've listened to the show, you know exactly what that rule is. So we don't address that. We'll just leave that alone. So speaking of Michael, come on, bud. What was your how'd you do Thanksgiving? You have two Thanksgivings as well. I know you two are obviously have the couples in the room. So
Yep. Did the same thing. Then they came up for the holidays, and just living it good. So
nice.
Yeah,
I dig it.
Yeah.
Not to make a depressing turn, I actually had to miss my family Thanksgiving this year due to my television job. Just sometimes, look, here's the thing, people. If you ever work in radio or TV, it's kind of a normal thing in the industry. So I'm not trying to be that like Debbie Downer. I'm just telling you that eventually it was going to happen. So, luckily what was the positive is I got all that food coming back up to me. I had plenty of leftovers. My family's very generous at saving tons of Thanksgiving meals. So I had a really good week this week with just like leftover turkey, macaroni and cheese, the mashed sweet potatoes or potatoes as well, rolls, you name it. It all came home. All of it was there. So I got to experience it post the fact, which to some people, that's the best part of Thanksgiving is the leftovers anyway. So I might have
For
won
days.
after all. I might have won after all, I even won too. Chicago even won on Thanksgiving. I got to work during that game. So, run breaks for the game, watch the Bears win by a field goal. I say it's a good day. So I had a good day. Who's not having a good time this week though? And this is actually today that we're talking about this. This is one of our topics we're now transitioning to. Antonio Brown is not having really a nice afternoon as we are doing this recording. For those that are chiming in, or maybe you've seen it, we're actually right on top of this. It's going to be pretty frequent when you hear this show for the first time. The NFL and the NFLPA jointly worked on this. That is a rarity. The two kind of butt heads with each other all the time. They jointly reinforced their commitment for further emphasizing the importance of strict adherence to protocols to protect the well-being of everyone associated with the NFL. That's quoted from their news report on Antonio Brown, along with safety Mike Edwards and free agent receiver John Franklin III being slapped with 3-game suspensions due to violating COVID-19 protocols. All of this circling around fake vaccination cards, which was more of there's an allegedness to it. There's been a report and kind of an investigation going on. By the way, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers complied with this as all 3 of these players actually are tied back to Tampa, funny enough, in some way, shape. Franklin was on training camp, from what I understand, with Tampa. Mike Edwards is with Tampa currently. And then, of course, Brown is also with Tampa. So vaccination cards, which it was all a good laugh when we heard that Antonio Brown's personal chef was making this allegation. And now it seems more like it's an actual valid thing because the NFL slapped them with a 3-game suspension. I know it's still allegations right now from the report, but let's be honest, they wouldn't do this unless they literally did something that violated the rules. I'm saying they had these cards made and these things are effing legit. What the hell, guys? Have we learned nothing so far? Yet I'll give you my quick take on it. I'm actually kind of pissed off because I thought we had an understanding in the NFL to do this, but apparently that's not the case. We're making fake vaccine cards to get through to make our millions of dollars when most of us Joe Schmoes are working, some minimum wage for Christ's sake, and are trying to do this crap, and going through worse applications. I dislike hearing this. You waste all that money for fake vaccine, go get the damn shot. There's too much research now, boys and girls. You can be opinionated as if you want, but I'm going to be frank. You can go and check everything you need. You don't need a fucking card. And I'm going to leave that cuss word in there for this show because I really don't care. Go get your damn shot. I'm just really, that it's so asinine to see a story like this, because it was all fun when it was the chef. Because I didn't think this was legit, because it's his effing personal chef that's reporting on this, that he's distributing these damn things. But no, it's a real thing. People spent real money doing this stuff to not get a thing that's scientifically researched to hell and back. What the hell?
Yeah, and it says a lot that none of them are appealing their punishments. So if they were truly saying that they weren't guilty, they would appeal it. But they're like, all right, yeah, we got caught, so now here we're not gonna appeal this. And honestly, to whoever's listening, I don't care what your views are on the vaccine. I really don't, because there's one major difference, is that the NFL gives you the option to stay unvaccinated. You just have to report it to there and follow their guidelines. It's the same thing of if I was in a hospital and I had to get a flu shot in order to continue working there. To me, that's the same thing. If your employer requires it as a condition of employment, you have to do it. My job requires me to lift up 25 pounds from time to time. I mean, I probably lift a little bit more from time to time as well, but still, if I can't do that, then I can't do my job. So basically what he was trying to do was swindle the system so that he could reap the benefits of somebody who is vaccinated instead of just either A, declaring it, or B, getting vaccinated. Part of me is incredulous to this, that somebody would be as dumb to do this, because I mean, we hear about it all the time with regular people. You know, somebody got caught trying to cross the Canadian border with a fake vaccine card, and they're actually facing jail time. It's Antonio Brown, though. He is historic for these random bits of things where he thinks he's better than everybody else, better than the NFL, better than his team. You know, he had that, when he was with the Steelers, he threw a tantrum because Juju was named team MVP. You know, he was threatened to retire over a helmet issue after they updated the safety standards. You know, he's unhappy about being fined by Mike Mayock for missing mandatory workouts. You know, he released that private phone call between him and Gruden. He was sued for sexual assault for incidents in 17 and 18, which was finally resolved. He attacked a moving driver. The dude is unstable. So part of me is not surprised to see him do this. But the other part of me is like, are you kidding me? Because, I mean, Amari Cooper's not vaccinated. Amari Cooper got COVID. Amari Cooper's been out. They're required to basically, he followed all the protocols to get back in it. I mean, I don't get how hard it is to just either A, go get it, or B, just declare you're not vaccinated to them and follow the rules. Like, how hard is this? It's like a toddler trying to, you know, get away with, like, I don't know, crapping on the floor or something. I don't know.
Well, now we're very much educated on that anyway, because Aaron Rodgers just went through this whole thing where we're discussing, like, how's the NFL doing this? Was he actually lying to the NFL? And the NFL went, no, that's part of our program. So now it makes even less sense, where it's like, why'd you get the vaccination card if you could have just taken a Rodgers route? And I know there's Rodgers rate jokes going around the internet right now because of the card going around, funny enough, but you could have done the same damn thing and avoided doing a fake card and getting game suspensions, but that you took the dumbass choice of going the illegal way of going about this, at least a legal way in terms of violating NFL rules. I'm not going to dive into the legality of things because I'm not a lawyer, and I will definitely not be speaking for that. Please do not take any of my legal advice in any direction. But in terms of violating COVID protocols that the NFL's put in place, yeah, that's crap. That is a terrible thing to do when you have options that are legitimately within bounds of your organization. Stupidity abound is how I see this. And two other gentlemen decided to take the same stupid card along with Antonio Brown to this 3-game suspension. One of them's not even playing, for Christ's sake. So even if he gets signed, that's 3 games he has to sit out. So great job with your prospects, pal. You really boosted your effing status by getting a fake card. Wonderful. Bravo. I didn't even give him Michael's turn. I feel bad, but, like, well, what else can you say? It's just idiotic. Like, I don't know if there's even any argument against this type of crap.
No, it's pretty much copy paste. You know, I mean, I get it. People do it all the time. You know, they try to squeal their way around corners and try to get away with certain things, but it's all good until it's not, you know, and they just found out to say, you know, that's just how the NFL is right now, and maybe there'll be different protocols in the future, but I mean, that's just unheard of. You shouldn't be doing that. You either, like Tony's saying, like, you either get the shot or you comply with guidelines that the NFL is making if you don't want to get it. You know, it's just not right. And it shouldn't be, well, obviously they're taking action now, but if it happens again, then what? Are you season-long suspension or what? You know, I mean, I guess we'll see, but time will tell.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's all it's going to tell. I mean, right now he hasn't played in 5 straight weeks because of injury issue. So I guess he gets healthy for the postseason because he's going to be back week 16. I will read off at least his lawyer's statement, Sean Burston. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'll do that just out of want to be fair on this story. So this is the statement from his lawyer. Quote, Mr. Brown is vaccinated and continues to support the vaccine for any person for whom it is appropriate. He then continues, the NFL made its determination, and instead of going through the drawn-out and distracting process of challenging the outcome, Mr. Brown wrapped this up promptly, and he will make the most of this time by treating his ankle injury. Mr. Brown will be motivated, well-rested, and best shape of his life when he returns to Week 16, a.k.a., as Tony's mentioning, I don't want to challenge this because, hey, maybe they found something that I won't win, and this might just make me look that much worse. For a guy that, as Tony also brought up, already still has kind of a mixed public reputation in the NFL scope. I mean, okay, he did try and make some strides. Tom Brady took him under his wing, which, by the way, if he's still with Tom Brady in terms of rooming with him, I don't know if that's his living condition right now, but if that is, like, okay, how does Tom react to this? Like, hey, dude, what the hell you doing? Like, I need you for these games. Like, we're trying to get, better seating in the NFC. Now, credit doesn't affect your playoffs, but like, I'd be a little pissed off because guys under your roof and causing a distraction like that, which was part of the reason why he was living under there in the first place, was to mitigate the distractions. Just, I don't know. I don't know his living conditions right now. I haven't looked into it that hard, but if that is still the case, I'd be pissed off if I was sharing a rooming situation like that still.
Yeah. With him being his personal chef, for some reason, I have a feeling that he's no longer taking advantage of Tom Brady's
That's
generosity.
Fair. That is fair.
That would be my only caveat to that.
Mm-hmm. And perhaps that's right. I mean, dude just needed at least a way in to kind of stabilize things. I mean, Bruce Arians, as we all know, took a risk with even bringing him in, because he got questions about him last year about, like, you sure this is going to be a good move? Like, how you feeling about control and AB? Like, there are questions like that brought around last year. Like, is he going to be a distraction in the locker rooms? Like, we like his talent. Like, yeah, it's recognizable, but that just sucks. It's another thing. And it's even worse because it's a public health thing. And it was so easily avoidable. Like Tony's talking. You didn't need to do this extreme measure, but you still chose it. And you made it worse by having others that were in the same sphere go along with this too.
Yep.
So bad. Yeah. I don't have much else to say on it. Mainly because I don't want to, mainly because, what else can you really put on at this point? There's not much more. Plus the fact that we got other stuff to talk about and there's no extra pieces. If there was an appeal, I'd be like, okay, well, how's the appeal going to go? But they're not appealing because of obvious reasons. So to each their own, what is what it is. 3-game suspension. It's week 16 that he'll be back. We can knock him even more later on then. The end of the season is coming near, which means that some people are going to get knocked on for their coaching styles. And Black Monday will be a testament to those that could not sustain success or show that they deserve to be in an organization and functionally operate said organization. So this is the show where we finally jump in once again, like we do in previous years, and say, all right, who's staying, who's going? There's hot seat candidates abound that we could argue. Some that are definitely much hotter seats, some that have cooled down as of last week. Looking at you, Vic Fangio, for your win against LA for helping with that. I mean, hey, they're still right in the wild card hunt somehow, even after a collapse from starting a quick 4-0. So looking at how this thing's going down, I put down 3 coaches. There's maybe 4 or 5 we'll talk about, but there's 3 that we really are going to kind of discuss in particular, that we're going to hammer home, and we are going to make judgment calls on them for this show. Kicking things off, I'll go right to it, get it out of the way. And it's also related to me, myself, and I, Matt Nagy, who was reported during Thanksgiving week that he was going to get fired. He has not been fired, by the way, which is not a normal thing Chicago does. They don't fire people midseason. They've never done it in their history. And they did everything in their power to say, we're not doing it. So now they're 4-7, and it's still a semi-tough schedule ahead, 2 against the Minnesota Vikings. You got Green Bay. Arizona's coming up this week with a healthy D-Hop and Murray coming back after the bye. That's hosted in Chicago, but, that's a tough contest. And you can't lean on the Lions every week to give you a win or the Raiders to give you a flub or whatever you want. I'm going to leave my opinions to last because I'm curious what these gentlemen who don't always follow my team say, because, I think my answer is obvious, but I'm wondering if any of you two have a different opinion on Mr. Nagy himself retaining his job.
If he retains his job, I'll be surprised. See, it's one of the things we talked about last season too, and hoping one of us is correct on who's the first fired this time around too. If Matt Nagy isn't the first one, I will be severely surprised. He was bailed out last season due to the way Chicago started, but they were, like you said in previous episodes, Zach, they were the worst 5-0 team that we've ever seen. So that saved him a little bit. I think they need him to get out of town. He can't develop a quarterback to save a life. You know, Mitch Trubisky was a pretty good college quarterback. Under the right system, under the right leadership, probably could have been, you know, a good starting quarterback. If upper management wants to keep Justin Fields around and healthy, they'll get rid of Matt Nagy in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I don't think he deserves to keep his job.
Fair enough. I got a similar vein, but I want to see what Michael says here. Maybe a different opinion, because I mean, I think people know from this show I am very anti Matt Nagy right at this point. There was a time I liked it. I was a big fan. Got to look back to like early 2019 really to do that. Maybe mid 2019 if I'm being fair. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Michael, you see him a chance getting another year. I might can, but I don't want to go dive down that road yet.
I don't see him returning at all next season. I mean, if I was Bears organization, I'd get rid of him now, because the whole city of Chicago, as you heard chanting fire Nagy at Blackhawks games and Bulls games, and it seems like the louder the fans are getting, the more that people are finding out, hey, this is not good. It's clearly not good. It hasn't been good for a few years now. And yeah, he might have a decent record in his time there in his first 3 seasons, but you can't really take that at face value from what they've done. Yeah, they made the playoffs, but what more have they really done? They haven't done anything. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off now, get it done and over with. You're already ruining your future franchise of the quarterback of your team with this. So you might as well just rip the Band-Aid off, try to figure out something, try to get him more reps, Justin Fields, that is, and try to put something there. Like this isn't the year. It's not going to be the year. So you might as well get it done and over with. The locker room clearly has him. And yeah, he can be a great guy all he wants, but great guys sometimes don't make great coaches. So I've learned that the hard way too with Mr. Dan Quinn. So but I don't know, it seems like it's just a never-ending cycle. They win one, he's safe. He's safe.
Yeah, don't get me started on that whole win one.
Say that they wanted to lose it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
don't get me started on that.
Yeah, it's like when Atlanta wins a game, like, oh yeah, we're in the playoff hunt. Then they lose a game. Oh, I don't even know why we're even trying. Let's just tank for a top 5 pick. Like, pick a side. Like, it's either one or the other. Just rip the Band-Aid off. And like, I don't get most Bears fans. Like, some of them I can tolerate, but in that aspect, it's like just it's unbearable, because they're just like, it makes no sense. Just I don't get it. Just, you either want to win or you don't. Like,
our fan base is extremely asinine in terms of Chicago. I find often, at least, I pull my hair out at so much. If you go on Bears Twitter, it's not even worth your time. Like, you will be pulling your hair out within maybe 10 minutes of reading, like, back and forth, and some of them just doesn't make sense. And I think this week was like a good telling, like, okay, the tide's turning finally, because this would have been a game where you've seen, like, last year, you had people like, see, he doesn't deserve to be fired. Like, they came back from a win. We're moving in the right direction. But yeah, they won by 2 against the Lions. To me, they got bailed out because of 2 horrible drives where the Lions had 3 straight holding calls each, 1 per half, where they were deep in Chicago territory. mind you. And if those drives are converted in any way possible, 2 field goals even, that game is a touchdown difference, which some could argue maybe the Lions flub it. They did have a double timeout, of course, down and deep in their own territory. But that still furthers it. And I'll conclude this with my quick thoughts here is just that I'm done waiting for an offensive guru to be an offensive guru. It's been 4 years. It's not happened. And I'm not waiting for him to ruin another quarterback to try and run a system that, as much as Andy Reid can do it well, he doesn't fully understand how to do it or to adapt to his own curated pieces that Ryan Pace has given him. As we've seen in some weeks, Justin Fields, as Tony knows, as I was expecting, as probably Michael knows coming out of the draft, hey, dude's great at running out of the play action and throwing on the run. He's not as much.
Yes.
He can do pocket passing, but he's not adapt to it. It's been shown even in previous games before this one, just the week prior against Baltimore, he was looking awful because most of his passes were in the pocket. And it was funny. I'm sitting and watching that game, and fans are seeing Andy Dalton come in. And you know what they did for the second half? He was doing play action rolling out of the pocket. Why is that happening? That is the type of coaching staff you have in Chicago. Mostly Matt Nagy's roles is, I don't get what you're doing half the time. And by the time you adjust it, it's too late. That's all I have to say. And it's going to lead to him being fired because you need to change some things up. And Justin Fields, if you screw this up, the city's going to keep revolting because they've touted this and built this up so much, especially the national media. This is the best prospect the Bears have had in their history out of the draft, which, boy almighty, have those expectations just ballooned. And I'm just sitting back and going, wow, you really, all of you bought into just everyone gaslighting this, which I don't know. I still believe in Fields. Obviously, it's year one. I give a rookie a pass in their first year. I've told people on this show, and I've told people and others, I give them a pass as a rookie. But after that, my restraints start coming off. You know, maybe I give him another year with a new coach. Year 3, I am definitely going to start being critical. So things need to start turning around after the season and need to be stable.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts with Matt Nagy. I am done talking because I could go all day.
I think they should have. If they would have lost the game against the Lions, I think he would have been gone.
I thought so too. They were close.
I'm sure everybody did. But, I mean, if you think about past Bears head coaches, I mean, you remember probably better than anybody how bad Mark Trestman's last year was with the Bears.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
And he got to finish out that season. So if he can finish out that season, it looks like Mr. Nagy will too. So
they will.
I mean,
and
we'll
even it was even worse with Trestman because like there was a legitimate player like revolt in the locker room come the end of the year. There's been speculation so far, but like it hasn't really shown its ugly head yet. Like we haven't gotten like ugly quotes from like a Brandon Marshall figure, like a Martellus Bennett figure coming out of the locker room yet. And it probably won't, but it's time to move on. Go to greener pastures, dude. Like reset your career somewhere else because I'm done with you. And so is most of the city, if not all the city. It really should be all the city that should be done with it. There's some points you can defend, maybe good people person. Okay, that's great. Lovie Smith was too. And obviously he has a little more credibility in my opinion than you ever did. So that's just my honesty on that decision. All right, I end it. I could go all day with Matt Nagy. This one's a little more interesting though because of the legacy behind him. Legitimate winning pedigree. Has really only had one losing season, might be 2 this year, with his tenure.
You about to say who I think you're gonna say?
Well, I guess losing tenure in terms of the tenure he has with the current coach, or with the current team. Why did I say coach twice? Yeah, I think I'm gonna say what you're thinking. Does Pete Carroll look like he's on his way out?
First of all, that was not the person who I thought you were going to say. I guess I have another person out there.
Okay.
I think Pete Carroll probably is out on his way out. I mean, the dude is pretty old to be coaching. They do need a fresh face. You know, you've got DK and Tyler Lockett, probably the best wide receiver duo in the league. behind Russell Wilson. Russell, it's an interesting thing because the way he hurt his finger on his throwing hand, that can actually impact the grip that you have on the football. Can actually do less tight of spirals, less accuracy, because you can't grip it as well. So maybe that could be an issue. But even if you look at it defensively, the defense hasn't been the same in a long time since the Legion of Boom. So I think if they can find a good successor, which it's kind of tough to find right now, at least in my eyes, who would take over for him. I think he might be on his way out, but I think if he's on his way out, it's not due to a firing. I think it's due to what they'll call either retirement or the mutual parting of the ways.
Maybe. I will say with my points on this, it is accumulation of things that's leading to Seattle right now in the way that they are this season. Just some moves, the lack of or neglect of specific positions, mainly I would say offensive line, and trying to rebuild their secondary. Although, Seattle's had flashes, but it's not shown up at times this year and at parts last year, really. Mostly my knocks are on the organization as a whole. Pete Carroll's, of course, part of it. He makes decisions with John Schneider, who is the GM of the Seahawks, to make these roster changes or make these picks. I know right now, if you're talking about bad moves, so we all remember the Jamal Adams trade and that little bounty that they gave the Jets. Right now, the Seahawks and the Jets have the same record in the NFL. The Jets are going to get that Seahawks pick next year. So if you think about this, Seattle might be giving New York back-to-back possible first rounders in the top 10 for Jamal Adams, who, by the way, he's a bruiser, but the fact that his interception total is the highest it's ever been, and sure, you can argue safeties don't always get the bigger interception totals that could go to cornerbacks, but the guy has shown he has stone hands. He's a bruiser, but has he played up to the bounty you gave up for him? The answer I say is slightly no. Not definitively no. He's had qualities, but it's a slight no. That's just one roster move that has been of many that has led to accumulation of Seattle finally becoming not mediocre, but it's downward trending. And then, of course, you move Schottenheimer this year to try and figure out offensive woes, and it's been mixed results with Russell Wilson in injury. I can't count Geno Smith because it's Geno Smith, and you're using a backup, so you're supposed to win with backups, but even then, it hasn't accumulated well. These decisions are finally starting to impact Seattle on a grander scale, to where not much band-aiding anymore can be made to save it. And I think this is what's going to accumulate with Carroll walking out the door, is maybe more of a, I'm wiping my hands clean. I don't know, maybe I go back to college, maybe I just retire. But to me, it'd be like, if I'm Carroll, I'm like, F this. I've done my work here. This is beyond repair for at least a few years. Russell Wilson still has the possibility of walking out the door next year. You have DK Metcalf frustrated because he's not being targeted. Understandably so, for the caliber of receiver that he's supposed to be. Words aside or not. But
he was wide open a bunch of times in their last game. So Russell did not throw it his way. There were a few times, especially on that 2-point conversion that he threw a pick on. He had DK in the corner. All he had to do was just lob it up there for him, and he was going to go get it. So
Swain was heavily covered. I remember making that call going, why? Because I also did a color cast of that game, and I went, what? What was that choice? Wilson's usually better at that. Anyway, there's pieces to me that leads to this saying he walks out the door. He'll still have mad respect from Seattle Seahawks fans. He's done so much work over the last 10 to 11 years of his career that this isn't like a bitter farewell. Like they did a great job, sustained success, and an understanding where the organization should be. But I think it's time. This is probably a sign this year that it is time for a changing of the guard.
I agree.
Yeah.
Michael?
Yeah, I would agree with that too. At first I was a little mixed on it. I was a little mixed on the idea of Pete Carroll getting the boot, but I watched that Seahawks versus Washington game, and man, that was not pretty at all. And I just kept seeing Pete Carroll on the sideline just chomping at that gum, and I'm like, man, I don't think he's going to last very much longer, man. Their record isn't what they are, but man, it's starting to seem like it year after year, and not making the playoffs these last few years, and you kind of see that decline. Then it's not all on Pete Carroll. They've traded picks, like you said, for Jamal Adams, and they thought that. I thought their window was still open. They're still making these trades, like thinking that they're still ready to compete. You go out and get Jamal Adams, one of the best in the league, and what have you got to show for it? I'm pretty sure they're last in their division, and last year they were in the playoffs. Like, or they were, they were in the playoffs. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, they definitely were.
Yeah, against the Rams, and I don't know. It just seems like there's just a massive amounts of struggle within the organization, especially with protecting their franchise quarterback since 2012. Like, you don't find very many Russell Wilsons around. I know I don't anyway, but I think Russell Wilson should have every reason to be upset. He's not getting the protection he needs like he used to when he first started in the league. The guy was running everywhere, and it was just that's how he balled out. And now it's like he gets the ball and he's scrambling right out the pocket. It's like it's designed or something. So I don't know. He's been the most sacked quarterback since 2015, which blows my mind. And they have just done nothing to improve the offensive line. No big splash in free agency, no drafting. And if they do, it's in the later round, and it doesn't really pan out. Not saying that later round offensive line picks are good, but that's exactly what I'm saying. But I really wonder what they are prioritizing, if they really think that Russell Wilson's going to be out the door or what. But I would plan like he's going to be there, because the guy, when he's hot, and we've seen that. So I think he's leaning more towards out the door, but I wouldn't consider him fully out yet. So
yeah, there's definitely factors.
We're turning the burners on.
Yeah,
for sure. I feel like there's more issues.
The heat's going to go up on that for sure.
Yeah, there'll definitely be more discussion, because there's more issues than Russell Wilson. You either get rid of your coach, or you get rid of your franchise quarterback, and I know what I would get rid of. So
yeah, definitely coach.
For sure.
Yeah, you just don't want both walking out the door. That's it. Make sure you keep at least one. Wilson being happy obviously came up last year, where it's like, okay, now I want like legitimate, like Aaron Rodgers, well, even Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady influence, because I am that big of a name. And
right.
So now they had to recognize that. And that's what they're stuck with. Carroll, I think, is out though, but I think it's going to be a mutual parting. It'll be one of those it'll be like one of those like post Black Monday type of things, where like, hey, we'll start the coaching search, but like, we wish him, of course, the best. He did a lot of stuff for us. Great. We just needed to start getting, a fresh look at the organization from a coaching perspective with what we've got. So that's how I see it. And then the third one we're going to really dive into, we'll bring up a few others that, are kind of like in between as we wrap up the show here. This one has already been under hot water. It's a guy that's more, of course, notorious for his coaching prowess, much like Carroll before Seattle, and is only in his first year, and we're already talking about him as one of the most possible hot seat guys in the NFL. A lot of it is due to off-field either interactions or the way he's messed with it, the way he's like coaching his players and just other off-field stories. Urban Meyer is on a lot of lists a hot seat candidate. And we've already talked about him possibly going to Notre Dame, although that job just got filled up by their defensive coordinator stepping up in the absence of Brian Kelly. So that's already taken place. So it's not going to happen. But, Meyer's there in year one. It's already been super rockier than I think even most people expected. And, you got to ask, does he survive this season? He was there already was a massive PR hit with the whole fiasco of him at a Columbus bar, not flying back with the team, and that whole weird pseudo lap dance thing that happened. And we could also go into just berating players and trying to treat them like they're children in a professional setting, aka trying to treat them like the high school college football setting, which doesn't work in the NFL. And list goes a little longer than that too. Even violating COVID protocols, being on AEW, because he wasn't supposed to be there. And that happened as well. I mean, cool that he was on TV because they do a lot of their live stuff in Jacksonville because of, Shad Khan's son owning the AEW. But like, really, that's the thing you got to think about when you do this stuff. I don't know. The PR hit's what worries me here. It's not like, and I mean, here's my thing. If you want to look at the PR, like, guys, has he done enough so far with Trevor Lawrence and whatever he's been given to justify that, hey, I can develop something with my roster building? That's the big question.
Go ahead, Mike. I'll let you go first.
Okay. Yeah. I think that he is going to stay next year. And I also think that he should be gone, only because of what he's doing currently, in the fact of, he had that big press conference right in the off season. It was so hyped. It was on ESPN and the interview and everything. And Shad Khan was so impressed with Urban Meyer and what he has done and what he's going to bring to Jacksonville. And he botched free agency. He spent one of his first round picks on a player who plays the same position as his best offensive player, which was James Robinson. Made no sense to me. And I think Travis Etienne's been injured.
Yeah, he was knocked out before the season. His rookie year's gone.
Exactly. So you wasted there when you could go on defense or improve the offensive line for your franchise quarterback. I mean, that alone feels like there's no connection with his players or, even his owner. But, the reason that I'm saying that he's going to stay is because Shad Khan gave him such a huge contract to be there, and how bad of a mistake it would be for him to just cut him, give him $60 million. How big of a mistake that is, expensive mistake at that. I don't know, for a team that's been kind of a laughing stock since that AFC title game against New England. But before that, they've been laughing stock forever. It doesn't seem like he's prioritizing the Jaguars very much. And they're, they had all that turmoil with Tom Coughlin, and it doesn't look like Urban Meyer's doing anything to make it be like, hey, I want guys to come play here in Jacksonville, and I want to bring a title here. And yes, they have Trevor Lawrence and everything, but they didn't really make any really splashes in free agency, and that is so critical, along with drafting, which, I mean, they're kind of starting over. I get that. Right. But you really have to nail free agency if you want to go all in. And in my opinion, they didn't. And I mean, let's give him another year, maybe. I mean, you paid him all that money. Why not try it out? If he bails for college, he bails for college. And I don't mean to toot my horn, but I would have been right, because that guy, I mean, he's done it before. I don't know. It's a it's a mixed bag down there, but
Oh, sure. Oh,
we'll see
sure.
what the future has for him, because I do think there's so much criticism with college coaches transitioning to NFL, and we've seen it with Nick Saban and all that, and then they go back, and then it's like they never left, and then they forget about the NFL and everything. So it's like they leave a terrible legacy for guys that want to come to the NFL from college. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. It's so tough because
I mean, the default here, like you have two skews on how this is looked so far. Is, everyone can talk about, well, Nick Saban lasted 2 seasons in the NFL, so maybe you can give him a extra year as well. And you got the likes of, say, like a Bobby Paterno, who, drops a letter in the locker room and says, "I'm out." Peace.
Yeah.
One and done, baby.
Let's go back to Arkansas.
I don't think Urban's going to do that, but like, I think at least you get like a Nick Saban 2-year plan where it's like, all right. He's still a garbage roster. I don't want to waste time doing rehiring again. Let's give him one last try. Then we could push it off 1 year. Urban still is a Florida legend because of his coaching at the U of F. Give him one more chance. And we spent a lot of money, like Michael's saying. I think he stays.
Yeah.
As much as he has made so many PR flubs to force him into the spot of saying he should be fired after year 1, I think he gets one more shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see them parting ways with them after the season. I mean, I can see why they might have drafted Travis Etienne. They might have wanted to do the whole, 2-back type of deal like they have out in like Cleveland and, even Dallas with Pollard and Zeke. So I can see kind of a little bit of logic on that, but I mean, we can't just all base that on, the good part is that you can't put all that blame for their flubs in the draft on Meyer himself. You have to put it on, GM, Trent Balky. Balky. I don't know. I can't pronounce his name. I apologize. Balky? Yeah. See, it's tough. So you got to also look at the people higher up than him who are also influencing those decisions. So I think he does last at least one more season. Maybe with all they finally form up that offensive line to help out, Trevor. They just got to stay healthy. I mean, they lost a bunch of people to injuries. I mean, their best wide receiver right now is Marvin Jones Jr., who is definitely on the tail end of his career. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Jacksonville does. But hey, we've given people like Matt Nagy and Jason Garrett so many chances in their past, and so why not?
Hey, like I'm saying, if Nick Saban can last 2 years, you can give Meyer another year and then see if he pulls it and goes back to college, does that route. Oh, looking in at a big school. Sign me up. I'm on the way until a scandal knocks me out and I have to retire for health reasons again. I'm sorry. I'm only bringing it up because it's happened multiple times at this point. It's becoming kind of an inside joke in really the football landscape. So, I mean, if he does, I understand he has some stuff I've read up on, but like, it just kind of becomes funny / okay, buddy, when you see it happen multiple times and then it's still enticed back in some way. That's why I bring it up. There's a few others I want to gauge it really more short, but they're kind of more on the tail end, or I just don't think that you're getting a fair shot. So like, I'll get this one out of the way. David Culley, like, people, can we like stop riding David Culley's ass and just like let him coach one season? The McNair family has been treating this whole rebuild / like retool / like, I don't know what the hell it is anymore, like, as a literal hell. And he's just kind of hired / thrown into the fire. Like, plus Deshaun Watson, like, give this guy a break. Give him another year. Dude's won at least 2 games already for you. What more could you ask? Even Tyrod Taylor got knocked out with injury for most of the season because of a hammy, and they were looking good to start the year. Like, cut some slack for this guy. He doesn't need to be let go yet. You just are all mad at the organization and Cal McNair. That's it. Just chill. Let the guy have a year.
Yeah, him and Dan Campbell, I think, are getting kind of the short end of the stick. I mean, there's a lot going on inside of their respective organizations, to where I don't think we can really put them on the hot seat just yet. You know, you're the new coach of a rebuilding team. You know, you're not going to be able to, you know, do what you need to do. So, I think those guys are getting way too much flack for sure.
Yeah, Campbell definitely. I'm like, hey, it's even more bare bones in Detroit. Like, let's just leave them the hell alone. Too, you know, they're fighting every week. Like,
Yeah.
I like as a divisional opponent, I see these guys like they are putting up legitimate fights every week. They just get the short end of the stick at the worst possible times. Better rostering, better positions filled at next year. This could easily be like a semi mid tier team. Maybe not playoff yet, but 7 wins. I think with some upgrades in the offseason and a good draft, that's a possibility. And they're going to have draft picks with that trade with Matthew Stafford. So give him another season. Absolutely, too. I mean, Michael, you one of those guys with a pitchfork for the small guy? Because it kind of feels like you'd be like,
No.
some dude's like, 1 year, get him out of there.
Get him out of there.
Al Davis mentality. I
I've had
don't need
en-
you. 8 and 8
I've had enough of you.
No thanks.
Yeah, no, I like what it seems like Dan Campbell. I mean, he's a Detroit guy through and through. You know, he used to play for him back in the day, and I think it's more so the organization, I feel like, than the head coach, and especially in Detroit. But with the David Culley situation, he came into a situation that is just nothing on him. He has no reason to. He should have no reason to be fired. I mean, yeah, maybe give the guy another year, maybe 2 at most. But I mean, there's so many more issues on that team than him. Let's just go with the scapegoat. Year 1, we're not even done with the season yet, and he's already getting the firing. Like, what? Or not officially, but like he's already getting the talks of firing, I should say. But I don't know, you look at the franchise and both of them, and I mean, they just are historically, they're losers. Like, I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, it's sad because they're such passionate fan bases, but like, let's get some change around here, like positive change. Like,
people probably.
But I think they should.
People probably looking back going, can we have Gary Kubiak back? I miss
Right.
I miss the play action heavy days of him and Arian Foster most of the time being in with spells of injury and Matt Shaw.
Yeah,
that took me way back.
Yeah, for real. And they got rid of all their Houston anyway. They've practically cleaned house anyway, so it's like they got rid of JJ Watt, they got rid of Hopkins for like nothing, and
right.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're going, and then they don't have an identity, and I don't know. You can't really blame it on the head coach. It's got to be up in GM, but the whole Watson thing is a whole can of worms. But
add on the pressure you have to answer to the owner's son as the GM. Talk about nepotism, by the way. So
yeah.
Not like there's any other extra pressure. I'm just gonna go talk to Mommy Dearest real quick about what I think and see what she thinks.
Yeah.
We can go figure that one out.
Oh man.
So yeah, that is a mess. And all of us here are saying the same thing is leave this man alone. He does not need this crap. Same for Dan Campbell. Let's chill the hell out. Last one I'm going to throw out is real quick, and then we got to wrap this up ourselves. Mainly because I don't want Tony, as we're recording, missing his Cowboys getting what I think is going to be a win over the Saints and Taysom Hill.
We're not missing much so far. We just punted.
Oh, well, status update while we're recording, though. Matt Rhule.
If you're listening to this on Friday, you're too late.
Yeah, well, you might as well skip like a few seconds just to be like, this didn't matter. But okay, Matt Rhule's my last one because I think this is very, how do I put this? I feel like that there's justifications, but also, I think that there's been some linings to this. And I will say that the one part to me that stings the most that goes, yeah, maybe the organization messed up, and this isn't all on him, but, I mean, they let Cam Newton go, and then they signed Teddy Bridgewater, and they trade Teddy Bridgewater, and then all of them wanted to go for Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold is a flub, and now they're paying Cam Newton $10 million, and they're benching Cam Newton for PJ Walker, which I like PJ Walker from his XFL days. That's not a laugh towards PJ Walker. That's a laugh that they signed the man to a $10 million contract for half a year, and he's possibly going to get benched next week because they don't know who's going to start. They don't know how to handle the quarterback situation, and they keep throwing messes at the wall. They're paying 3 QBs right now, guys. Bridgewater is still getting money from Carolina. They're still paying him. So that's the justification, because like between coach and GM, you have to make that decision of this guy works for us. And they chose that route. And it started all right. And then when they hit the grinder, it's really been a grinder. They've won one. They started at 4-0. They've won 1 game since. They're 1-7 since that 4-0 start.
They're doing great.
Still somehow in the playoff hunt because the NFC's weak anyway. But that's the argument against. The argument for is that the last years they've shown fight. That's it. I mean, they're building good defensive pieces. They have one of the best pass rushes in the NFL, one of the better secondaries in the NFL right now.
Yeah. The biggest thing too is, I mean, you don't have Christian McCaffrey.
Well, yeah. What
done for the season.
What about CMC's future? He's showing like he's a kid that's been beaten up too much.
Yeah. Which, whether that's because of, not having a good line, or, because they're rushing him back or whatever. I don't know what's going on with him. All I know is, yikes, man. It's a dumpster fire out there.
It is.
There's no other way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to call this one. I'm actually leave it as to be determined for me, because I mean, I think that for some reason last year they gave him enough will, but I could also see them firing him just because you have an owner going, you did all these things just to rehire a guy we just cut and hit to the curb. And we might be now having to deal with 4 starting QBs in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not a recipe for success whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
No, ask the Browns. They went through it for so long.
And of course they passed on a quarterback, because now they have a class that's coming up that there's probably some starlings, sure, but it's a weak QB class compared to last season.
Look at Michael nodding his head. He knows.
And
he's already doing scouting for the draft.
And again, that's a coach and GM decision you have to make, that you pass on someone. That goes back to Mr. Rhule on the sidelines.
Yep.
I'm still putting it to be determined, but obviously I'm making quite the argument that says, hey, you might have made a big flub this year that might have just gotten you on the hot seat, or at least in the ownership's eye a little too much.
Yep. And real quick, Zach, I got one for you that I think is going to happen. This team is in the NFC West. They do currently have a winning record, but oh boy, looking at the rest of their schedule, depending on how one of their division opponents looks next week, I'm going to go with Kyle Shanahan should be out the door.
He was earlier, but they're playing pretty good right now, Tony.
Hey, my pick, dude.
So are the Bears.
Oh, give me a break. You really?
Ooh.
I know. I know you're laughing it off, but like what?
I'm just looking at it mainly as, they've been playing up and down ball. Problem is their best offensive weapon of Deebo Samuel is going to be out 1 to 2 weeks.
That's true.
That's not great for their record for these next 2 weeks, and that's if he comes back healthy in after the 3rd week. So because they've got Seattle, Cincinnati, Tennessee, Atlanta, Houston, and LA. Not quite in that order. I kind of branched them off on my little sticky note of like what I think they're going to win, what I think they're going to lose. Honestly, they have 6 wins right now. I can see them getting it 2 the rest of the way. 2.
Collapse.
We'll give them
no,
one.
that might set some things in motion if
2.
you fall that way. Name the 2.
Well, Michael got 1.
I mean, I got 1, and it was one that we talked about with a coach that might be out the door. So that would be my first guess.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, if I'm thinking in your terms, I mean, I'll say Houston.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe 3, but Michael will hate me for suggesting that. But
Oh, he already said it earlier.
you know,
Right here. Don't worry. We're talking about playoffs right now, but next week when we get spanked by Tampa, it'll be like, oh my gosh, tank for a pick,
Michael-
and then
Michael-
we'll win the next week, and it'll be like, oh, watch out, we're in the hunt, we're creeping.
Atlanta's 5-6. But I'm only going to say this because I laugh at the disrespect or like we know what this team is type of nature the NFL analysts have taken, because NFL.com's own power rankings have them as 28th and they've won 5 games. That's how low they think these 5 wins are.
Yep. Hey, they're in the hunt.
You're
They
below
are in the
Chicago, which I disagree with.
Oh man, we're so bad. Oh, we're so bad.
Such
We're
a
so bad.
facade. The facade is so real.
Yeah.
Unreal. Oh my goodness.
Going back to Matt Rhule though, I feel like he's still going to be in. Only because I feel like I understand the frustration with the fan base and like David Tepper. I mean, the guy gave Matt Rhule a 7-year deal, like all that money, and kind of like with the Jacksonville Jaguars situation, we gave him all that money and you're going to get rid of him after a few years, maybe. Like,
you gotta wait.
I don't know. I know Tepper wants to win. Tepper wants to win now, but I mean, that's the reason why they're making moves to get Stephon Gilmore and CJ Henderson and with drafting JC Horn and making that defense good. And then they bring back Cam Newton thinking he might have something in the tank because he's back. He's back. He let everybody know. And then he had one of his worst games of his career last week. And I don't know. And then with the whole Darnold thing, you know, I still think he has another year to at least prove it, but that's about it.
Well, yeah. Oh, the QB situation there is just hilarious. We'll see.
Yeah.
My to be determined is my final designation.
That's all you can
that.
say.
And that's how I leave it. And that's how I leave the show.
That's right.
Folks, thanks for tuning in, by the way. Thank you guys as always, of course, for being along for the ride and making the show amazing. Love doing this with you guys this one's 2+ on, Thanksgiving holiday, USFL stuff I was doing, but that's okay. We still do it 2-ish weeks that you can catch us on here, talking all things NFL. Follow us along on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Grid Gallery Pod. Again, that is at Grid Gallery Pod for all updates on all your favorite football news, info, and fun nuggets, if you will. Also, of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, by the way. That'll help the channel, us 3 as well, with growing the said channel and our brand, if you will. And then, of course, follow along with these guys on social. Michael's on Instagram and Facebook, obviously not on Twitter. And I think at this point we just are starting to give up. He's done a great job with just weathering the storm on us about the Twitter movement. And then Tony, of course, you can find him on all platforms, if you will. Especially watch out for Ohio State game days or Dallas Cowboys game days on Sundays. He just has a blast talking about these games and all the things refs miss.
I see what you did there.
Oof. He brought it up.
You're the one giving the innuendo on the screen.
Oh no, I know. That's why I enjoyed the pun so much.
See, these are things you miss if you're listening to the show on the podcast. You're missing the video version with Tony giving just little visual cues that I don't always intend to do puns for. That was completely unintentional. But
some of my my visual cues are like top notch. So yeah, definitely hit that video version.
All right, folks. Until next time, I'm Zach Keilman saying so long. Check out the show. Stay along with us. We got plenty of content coming up. Darn well we're going to keep going well into the playoffs with this and for future episodes ahead. For Tony Stenulson, for Michael Grimberg, I'm Zach Keilman saying so long. Until next time, guys, stay tuned. The Gridiron Gallery Podcast. New episodes every Friday on your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, and premiering first, as always, at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, only on unhingedsn.com.